There's a very particular kind of offense that only happens to a Westerner once, and it happens about 4 seconds after the waiter puts a bucket of ice down next to your beer. Not in your beer, next to it, with shiny metal tongs standing up in the ice. And you look at that bucket the way you'd look at a mistake, because you've got rules. You didn't know you had rules until about a minute ago, but it turns out you've got a full internal rule book about beer, and it's got a chapter on this, and the chapter is short and it says, "This ain't right." So let me talk you through the next 20 minutes of your life because they're going to be humiliating and you're going to lose. Right. The setup. You're sat outside. Plastic table, plastic chairs, the fan overhead doing almost nothing. It's 38 degrees and the sun went down 2 hours ago, which you find personally insulting, because you'd assumed the sun going down was the bit where the heat stopped. The beer arrives. Big bottle, properly cold, condensation running off it. Perfect. And then the ice arrives, and the tongs. Now nobody has asked you anything. Nobody at that table has raised the subject. The waiter's already gone because the waiter has served roughly 9,000 of you and has no interest whatsoever in what you're about to say next. You say it anyway. You announce to the table, unprompted, that you'll be drinking yours properly. Properly. That's the word you use. Out loud. In public. In a country you arrived in on Tuesday, and you give the little speech. You explain that back home, putting ice in a beer would get you thrown out and banned. You go so far as to say the phrase, watering it down. You possibly reference the brewers as though you know them personally, as though there's a man in a leather apron somewhere who'd genuinely be offended. Your mates are not listening. Your mates are already putting ice in their glasses. One of them has filled the glass. He's been out here 11 days and he knows the score by now. You take the first sip, and it's brilliant. Obviously it's brilliant. It's cold, really cold. It's crisp, it's exactly right. And you sit back in the plastic chair with the quiet glow of a man who has held the line. Enjoy it. That's the last good moment you're going to have for a while. Minute 1, it's still perfect. Minute 2, it's fine. Bit less cold. Nothing to worry about. Minute 3, and you notice you're holding the glass slightly differently because your hand is warmer than the glass now and you've started to think of your own hand as the enemy. Minute 4, something's clearly wrong. You take a mouthful and there's no relief in it. It's just wet and tastes of lager. And it's there, somewhere around 4.5 minutes, that it happens. Your drink stops being a cold, refreshing beer and becomes more like a cup of tea. I want to be clear about this. It isn't warm. Warm would be survivable. It's arrived at the exact temperature of the air, which is the exact temperature of you, which means you're now essentially drinking something at body temperature. It's a yeast broth in a glass and you're sat there sipping at it like a man who's made a series of good decisions. Meanwhile, you're sweating through the back of your shirt. Properly sweating. There's a stripe down your spine and a patch under each arm and you can feel your knees getting damp. And that's when you look over at the next table. They've got glasses packed with ice. Right to the top. They've been sat there an hour and they're still drinking something cold. There's been no crisis at any point in their evening. They're not hot. They're chatting. One of them's laughing at something. Nobody at that table has given a speech about brewers. And this is where the negotiation starts, and it's genuinely pathetic to watch. You don't just reach for the tongs. That'd be admitting something. What you do instead is start building a legal case in your own head about why this would be different. You think, well, 1 cube isn't really ice in beer. 1 cube's just temperature management. You think that's not diluting it. It's more of an adjustment. You think it wouldn't count because nobody from home needs to know. Nobody from home is watching. And that's the thought that gives you away, isn't it? Because who exactly did you think was watching? Who's the jury here? 3 blokes from your local, 4,000 miles away, who at this precise moment are stood in a beer garden in the drizzle wearing coats. They're not thinking about you. Mate, they've never thought about you. You look around anyway. You do a proper check. Left, right, over your shoulder, like a man about to do something illegal at a cash point. And then you pick up the tongs. 1 cube. Just the one. In it goes. And that first cold mouthful goes in, and something happens behind your eyes. There's a small physical shock, and then about 30 years of pub etiquette gets quietly deleted from your brain in the space of a 1.5 seconds. It's cold. It's still cold when you put the glass down. It's still cold a minute later. You look at the glass, you look at the bucket, and you have the thought every first-time tourist has eventually, which is, hang on, they're not doing it wrong. They've been doing it right this whole time, and I've been sat here sweating into a cup of tea out of loyalty to a pub in London. By the end of that beer, you've got 4 ice cubes in your glass. By the next one, you're filling the glass without looking. By the end of the night, you're doing the thing where you top the ice up before it's even low, like a man tending a fire. And that's you. That's it. That's the conversion done, and it took under half an hour. Here's the part nobody warns you about. 3 weeks later, you're sat at that same table, and a tourist arrives. Pale, pink across the nose, just off the plane. The ice comes down, and he looks at that bucket exactly the way you looked at it. He opens his mouth, and you know precisely what he's about to say. So you lean over and you tell him. You explain about the temperature. You explain about the humidity. You use the phrase, "Trust me on this." You describe it as a life hack. He looks at you like you've betrayed something, and he's right. You have. You absolutely have. You'll see him again in about 25 minutes, and he'll have 4 cubes in his glass, and neither of you will mention it ever again.